Hi, Ringo. I'm gonna go ahead. Hey, Carlos. Namaste. I'm gonna start this practice just telling you this is really kind of catered to me today, but I know you'll benefit from it as well. So I just took a really quick road trip to Buffalo, New York, with my son Gabriel, and that's what's leading into this practice today. So basically, Christmas 2019, I bought my son tickets to go see this band, who was only going to be hitting maybe 12 or 15 cities across the United States. And when we looked at the tour, they were coming up the West Coast, going across the North and ending in the Northeast. They really were not going to be in the Southeast. And one of the places my son has always wanted to go was Niagara Falls. So I decided 2019, his Christmas gift was going to be the tickets, and his birthday gift, which would have been the summer of 2020, would be the actual trip, to Buffalo and Niagara Falls. Basically, we know what happened. The pandemic happened. Bands had to quit touring. It was delayed to 2021. And then when there was I don't know if it was the uptick again, I'm not sure what happened, but it was delayed again to 2022. So basically, almost 3 years later, we finally get to go. And so with the airlines having all their trouble, we decided we would bypass the airlines and take a road trip. Well, it takes at least 10 or 11 hours to get to Buffalo. And we decided we'd break up the trip, and we stopped at Lake Erie for a night. We went on to Buffalo the next day. We took little side trips here and there to do hiking or to do some sightseeing. And basically, I drove home yesterday, got home yesterday afternoon. And as soon as I got out of the car, I realized my back was hurting so bad. And I think part of it was, sometimes when you're sitting and driving, I don't know if you guys ever do this, but you kind of prop your left foot up onto the seat. Well, I had been that way off and on in the car probably since Ohio. And I think that's what really aggravated my back. Well, to make a long story short, Rob played last night, and I did some yoga in between, got my hip feeling better, got my back feeling better. And then we went to sit for his show. And when I got up to go back home, I could barely walk. Like, it hurt. And then when I got home, I tried to use a tennis ball to push into those pressure points. It actually made it worse. I hobbled to bed and had to lie flat on my back. And I thought, well, my back's hurting. I'm going to try, what we always do in Shavasana. I'm going to put a pillow under my knees because that always helps the low back. I'm sharing this experience that I have with my body because maybe it'll help you in the future. When I put the pillow under my knees, it actually made my back worse. It actually piped up more. So I realized, okay, this is not just my back, but I wasn't really in the mindset of being in pain, of trying to figure it out. So I just moved the pillow away. And Rod brought his hand over to this part of my hip. And he didn't push into me or anything, but where his hand was resting, I almost jumped out of bed. I was about to scream in pain and realized that my iliopsoas was all angry and it was all bunched up. So that's what we're going to go over today. So that iliopsoas muscle attaches to the low back, and it goes down into the pelvic floor, and it wraps around from the groin across the hip and up. Now think about it. I was sitting in a car for about 26 hours for about 4 days. And look at the hips and how they're flexed. So, and then of course I had my left hip flexed even more on the way home. So basically all of that flexion, all of that sitting made those muscles mad, basically, because as humans, we're supposed to move. We need movement. So even though I had done some yoga here and there, sprinkled it in, I wasn't getting my regular practice. And and I had to pay the consequence. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on releasing the iliopsoas, which can help with the hip. It can also help with the low back. So please have a bolster, a block, and a blanket. And I'm going to meet you on the mat. So let's start off sitting and doing a little breath work. So when you come to sit on top of a folded blanket, block, or bolster, sit at the edge. You get that little neutral pelvis as it tilts forward, and your hands are going to reside down on your lap. Take a moment to inhale up through the breastbone, through the crown of your head, and softly release the shoulders down the back. Close the eyes. And take a moment just to look in at your body. Paying attention to see if you're feeling any discomfort or pain yourself. Where that may be showing up. Sometimes that pain is due to poor body mechanics, long periods of sitting. It could be overdoing. And sometimes it's energetic and emotional or stress related. As you scan through the body, if you find any of those areas giving you grief, maybe being the question, is this due to body mechanics? Is this due to a lot of sitting? Too much movement? Is it stress? Is it energetic or emotional? And being in this question and trying to determine what it is the yoga. Yoga is about practicing self-study and going to the root cause of any of our suffering. So if you find any of those areas, give it some love, give it some attention, and tell that area you see it, you hear it, you feel it. And then be mindful of this as we practice. Now begin to bring your breath under your command. Inhaling and exhaling fully. Feeling yourself expand as you breathe in. And settle in as you breathe out. And on your next inhale, let's go ahead and lift up through the crown of the head. Keep your chin parallel to the floor, and as you exhale, turn your head over the right shoulder. Inhale, center, and then exhale, turn it to the left. Inhale, center, exhale, right. Inhale, center, exhale, left. And we're going to do that once more. Inhale, center, exhale to the right. Maybe even looking sharply through the right corner of the eyes. Inhale, turn to center, exhale to the left. Perhaps looking through the left corner of the eye. And then inhale, bring it back to center. All right, we're going to dip the hands towards the floor. And we're going to lower the left ear down towards the left shoulder. Now just kind of pause here. Check in with that stretch. Check in with this particular thread of muscles. And then if you want to go a little deeper, maybe hover the hand, extending through the fingertips. If you feel like you are receiving more with the hand down, then you can place it back down to the floor. Please don't feel like you ever have to amp it up, because in that first positioning, it might be plenty. All right, now turn your chin and gaze down towards the shoulder and go slow, because there may be somewhere in that pivot along the way, some particular groove that needs a little extra attention, and you can hold it there. And then inhale, fly the head up, lower the hand down. All right, exhale, let's drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. Again, check in. This may be enough. Perhaps hovering the hand, extending through the arm and fingertips. Remember, when that sensation starts to increase, sometimes we hold the breath. So if you notice that, bring it back under your command. And now slowly tip the chin down towards the shoulder and look down. Any nook or cranny that needs some extra love along the way, you can hold there or come back to that spot. Breathe into it. And then lower the hand down, build the head up. All right, we're gonna do one more before we get into the hips here. So the hands are gonna lace behind the back of your head. Hopefully this is okay with your shoulders. If not, you can do it without the arms. Okay, so as we inhale, it's like a little cow tilt. We're driving the heart forward and leaning the head back. So it's a little back bend. And as we exhale, we're scooping in the belly and bowing the head, flopping the elbows towards the temples. And then inhale, lifting and spreading the arms and collarbones. And then exhale, release. Let's do one more. Inhale, open up. And exhale. All right, inhale, let's come back up and relax your arms. All right. I have a round bolster, but you can use the rectangular kind. We're gonna come down to our back, like a bridge pose. And then we will form the bridge pose in an active way so that we can slide that bolster underneath the back, the low back, and the top of the buttocks. And then go ahead and let your arms kind of fan out, kind of more in an A-frame style with your palms open. And the next phase, we're going to extend the left leg and sink the heel down to the mat. Now the foot can flop and relax. And we're stretching out the front band of this Psoas muscle. And you can even take your hand here on top of your body into that hip crease and just kind of feel. You can even, massage or do a little kneading here. It was so balled up and bunched up last night, and it still is a little bit today. You may not be having any trouble with this. And then once you do a little kneading, you can release the hand back down. And just ensure that you're not holding or contracting any of the muscles. If you are, maybe taking a cleansing breath, breathing in through the nose, out audibly through the mouth. Sometimes when we feel a singe of pain, our face will scrunch up. So you may notice tension in your face. So relax your brow, the area around your eyes, the interior of your mouth, your jaw. So this iliopsoas culmination of muscles actually attaches the upper and the lower half of the body together. It's what allows us to stand and sit and move the way we do, right? To have that mobility. If we didn't have this connection, this connective link, it'd be more like, we'd be flopping around like a rag doll. So last night, when I started feeling the pain, I thought it was my SI joints. And it was my SI joints being aggravated. And so I know when joints are aggravated, you need stability. You need to stabilize the muscles around the joints. And so that's what I was working on. Well, as I was stabilizing the muscles, it actually increased the pain. And that's how I realized, oh, the muscle's too bound. I need to release the muscular tension. And so sometimes, we have to play around and try different things to see what works, to see what gives us that relief. All right, we're going to take this deeper. If you want to, right? It's always a choice. Pick up the right foot. Now, if you need to protect your right knee, I would suggest clipping the hands behind your thigh. If your knee's healthy and good to go, place it on top. Now, we're not trying to overly squeeze the knee. And if your hands can't attach here, remember you can use a strap. You may have noticed a little sensation. I know my area popped right back up here. So let's just relax in silence and breathe into it. So this is a blend really of yin and restorative. Both being good for the joints and the connective tissues. Remember, it's good for the fascia, the kind of material that overlays everything in the body. It even intermixes and intertwines. All right, let's go ahead and gently release the right knee, setting the right foot back down. And then we're going to walk the left foot back. Slide your right leg out, rest on the heel, turn your palms open, and test this side. Opening up the front of the hip, and remember your right hand can come to the hip crease. You can slide it through that region, sensing how it feels. Maybe doing a little sawing effect with your fingertips. Massage it out to test the sensitivity. And just a reminder, this area, this muscle group, is also correlated back to our emotional reactions, our stress response, whether we go into fight, flight, freeze. And that's why it's important to be in the question, is it emotional, right? Is it energetic? Or is it something that I can control, like my body mechanics? All right, let's go a little deeper. Let's pick up the left foot, using a strap or your hands to hold the back of the leg or the top of the knee. And just let your feet and toes soften. Move right back into your breath. And breathe well. Couple more breaths. Let's release. Now, let's just explore. Is it possible? Are you capable of extending both legs out to make more of a full bridge shape? And something I failed to mention earlier, you can actually change your arm position to open up this area more. So if you want to extend your arms overhead into a wide shape, it's subtle, but it does make a difference. And you can also try exploring maybe opening the feet a little wider. And affirming mentally within, I offer every thought as a bridge to divine grace. Now let's travel the feet back. Bring the arms down if they were overhead. And we're going to pressurize the feet, tuck the tailbone to engage the glutes, to slide the bolster out. And we're going to roll it down, one vertebra at a time. Once you do that, bring both knees in. A very light hold to stretch out the low back. Let your belly really balloon out as you breathe in. And let it retract as you breathe out. And set the feet down. Turn to your side and come up to sit. Now I'm going to try to mirror you guys for this. We're going to take the left foot and bring it alongside the left hip. And instead of having your right leg pointed forward, you're actually going to send it over to the side like a half dragonfly. So you've got like a half saddle, half dragonfly. Now grab your block. We're going to set it to the outside of the thigh, the straight leg, and you're going to lean down onto it like this. Now this pull that you're feeling in your low back is coming to the area where that iliopsoas attaches in the lumbar area. Now you can also rest your elbow here and prop your head up like this. And you can explore taking the block lower down towards the shin and cupping a hold of your head like so. Now I'm on the top of the foot, but if you need to flip to the inside of the foot, that's okay. Your free hand can go into that hip crease and you can kind of push down on your thigh to give it a little additional space. And then I would suggest closing the eyes. Now you're obviously going to be getting some hamstring work and some inner thigh work as well. Remember, you can always pull back if it's too much. You can go for more if you feel that urge. Close your eyes for the inward experience. You'll be born around of protecting your body and practicing safely if you can stay with that conscious breath. We're going to exit out. So slowly lift the head, lift your torso, bring the leg more in front, Lean to that side to release the left. And then we'll take half saddle on the right, half dragonfly on the left. We'll swap the block to the other side. Testing it. How is it here? How is it here? Is it possible to go here? There's no right or wrong, just as long as you're starting to feel that sensation. Maybe even using your hand to locate it on your back to see where you sense and experience that pull. And then using that free hand to open up some space in the hip, plugging the upper thigh down. Relax the feet. Relax your face. So I'm having the same experience I did in the previous class, and I want to share it with you. I'm mirroring you, so I'm not technically on the same side that you are. And this is hitting that problematic area in my low back. And as I'm here resting and calming myself down, I feel the anger in that muscle like slowly releasing, but as it's releasing, it's pulsing. And I feel my upper body just kind of rocking forward and back, forward and back. So I know that pulsation is okay. But remember, if we get any violent shaking, or if we find that we can't stay calm or breathe well, then you know it's going in the opposite direction. And you're doing too much and you're going to aggravate it more. And so that's where we use our layered discernment. Hold for at least 3 more. We'll exit out of this kind of hybrid pose. So let's slowly lift the head, lift the trunk. Oh, you know what? I meant to tell you guys, now it's a little too late. But if that was troublesome from the knee, you could have been here with the foot in front. Hopefully you knew that already. All right, we're going to set the block to the side for now, but we are going to use it. Have a blanket available if you need extra padding for the knee. And we're going to come up to stand at the top of the mat. When you come to stand at the top, place your feet down properly where they're in one straight plane, parallel. Bring your hands to prayer position at your heart, look straight ahead. Inhale, circle the arms up. And as you exhale, you're going to go ahead and bend the knees. And as the palms come down through center, you're going to spill over to dangling pose. Now, once you're here in dangling pose, see if you can gravitate the heart a little lower. See if you can even out the weight on each foot.
Sometimes we have, obviously my SI joint is unhappy because my iliopsoas is seizing up on one side, but it can also be in pain if we're in the habit of always collapsing on one side and just using those poor body mechanics. And so the beauty of doing yoga over and over again, years on end, we really start to notice these little nuances, these little things, and how our body's responding to it. So for instance, I usually collapse to the left when I'm driving or when I'm on the couch. And I was very mindful not to do that on the drive. But I was talking to Tanya, who owns Unity Yoga, this morning, and she said she has SI joint issues on her right. And she said for years she was a traveling kind of salesperson. And she realized through yoga that she was always sitting improperly in the car. This is another one of those poses where we can sometimes get a little bit of that rocking motion or swaying activity as those meridians start to flow more. All right, we're going to move on. As you inhale, step your left foot back, and you're going to bury the back heel to the floor, picking up your hands and coming up with stability, both feet flat, to warrior one. Now, let's go ahead and square the hips as best as possible and lift the arms up overhead. Push a little heavier into your left heel. Fire into your back calf muscles. And as you exhale, you're going to lower your right hand to your hip. As you inhale, you're going to fly up through your left hand. And as you exhale, you're going to curve the upper body to the right so that you're stretching out the left side body. This is again one of those hybrid poses, bringing in Chandrasana, with warrior. All right, inhale, we're coming back up. Exhale, bring that hand to the hip. Now we're going to turn onto the back toes and feel how the back thigh internally rotates more. Now bring your hands to your hips. Even them out. One may be lifting higher than the other or pointed more forward than the other. Correct it. And then softly bend your back knee. Nothing extreme. Just a light little bend. And notice how it really gets into that groove where we're focusing today. And I'm trembling a little bit here. If you have furniture around you and you need stability, you can take your hand to hold something. I like to do this holding a kitchen counter, actually. All right, we're gonna sink the left hand to the back thigh and reach the right arm up towards the sky. Now you can be more gentle and stay here, or you can arch back. I wouldn't be extreme. Breathe into it. And then we're going to bring the hands down and the back knee down and untuck the back toes. Now this is where you can bring the blanket for extra padding and support. Now we're going to be dropping through the pelvic floor and hips. Now I'm going to give you two options. The first option I'm not going to do, I'll show it, but I know it's going to be too much today. The hands can prop on the knee and you can build up. All right, so I can do it, but it's not good for me today. I'm coming back down. You can have hands on blocks, of course, hands to the floor. You can have your neck neutral in line with your spine, or you can collapse and be more yin in your approach. Now, if this starts to feel like, oh my goodness, it's painful or whatever, remember you can do the rocking back and forth. Okay, so don't feel like you always have to be completely motionless, especially if you're in an area that's more arthritic. Sometimes when you have arthritis, it's actually better to add in a little movement with the stillness. So be at liberty to add that in. Remember, if it gets intense, you can always back off or do less. All right, we're all going to come up now. I'm going to use this block to help to lift me up. And I'm going to also pull up to the pelvic floor a moment. So feel free to pull up to the pelvic floor. And we're actually going to take this block in the right hand and use it on the right side body, okay? We're lifting the left arm up and we're crossing it over in front of the chest. And then you can reach through that left arm and hand. And it's okay if you get like a little, you're not doing really a twist, but it's okay if you twist a little here. Now, this particular pose, I have to be honest, it could work as yoga, but it's not technically yoga. I actually learned this at the chiropractic office with another specialist on a machine. Obviously, we're not using a machine, but you can do this without the machine and get the same effect. We're going to release that. And when you're ready to back up, take your time. Go slow, 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 because that was really deep. Slide your right foot back and knee back. Land in tabletop, flattening your palms, spreading through the fingers. Your hands are slightly forward of the shoulders because we're tucking the toes and lifting up and back to downward facing dog. Stretching out the limbs, stretching out the spine. Letting the head go between the arms. Concentrating on the breath. So remember, our slow, controlled breathing can help with our nervous system. And think about that if it's something that stressed you out or triggered you that has seized up this area that we're speaking today. This can be very beneficial. So feel free to affirm internally, calmness radiates throughout every fiber of my being. And then slowly begin to travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. Go ahead and press through the feet, straighten out through your leg bones, and bow down. Now forming more of an Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Again, checking with the even weight distribution between the left and right. Speaking of left, right, I read an article this morning, and Yang is creating a new political party with some of the Democratic leaders, some of the Republican leaders, and they're going to call it the Forward Party. And I think their slogan is not left, not right, forward. I thought that was pretty inventive, pretty clever. I don't know any more about that, but I just saw the headline this morning. Thought it was interesting. All right, inhale, come up halfway, hands to the shins or quads, and lengthen out through the spine. Look out with your eyes. And then as you exhale, you're going to take the hands down long enough to send the foot back, plant the back foot, float your hands up, and come towards a warrior. Whew, you guys, I have to go slow today. All right, once you stabilize here, both feet grounded, lift the arms. With the spine elevated over the pelvis, it's really going to open up your back calf muscles. Sometimes leaning forward can, kind of relieve it a little bit. Just depends on the day, really. All right, we're going to lower the left hand to the hip. We're going to inhale, reach the right arm skyward, and we're going to exhale, curve and lean left. Inhale, coming out of that hybrid pose, and then bringing the right hand down to the hip. And this is where we're going to spin off the back heel, turning the right hip around more to face the front, and bending that back knee. Feel free to use furniture to hold on to for stability. And then this is where we use the hand touch to level out the pelvis and the hips. Because a lot of us have some misalignments here and there. We can correct it in our practice. Each side is different. Don't be alarmed if you have more sensation on one or the other. It's perfectly normal. All right, we're going to set the right hand to the back thigh and lift the left arm up towards the sky. You can be here in this form of crescent, or you can lean back. That also depends on your balance. And on your exhalation, let's go ahead and bring the hands down, the back knee down, untuck the back toes. And this is where we're going to sink and melt. Unless you want to be propped up like so. This side, no problem. Other side, my body was a hard no. So if you have easeful yes, you can be here. Even though I'm a good yes here, I'm going to take it down a notch because I want to do it the same way to each side. You don't have to do that though. And then bow your head if that's good for your neck. Again, remember the rocking motion. If it's crazy intense here, you can always rock back and forth and then move back to stillness. So remember, we're trying to relieve the suffering, not create it. And that's how last night I discovered it's not really my SI joints. If it was, the stability and the active things I was doing would have assisted. And instead it made it worse. So then I realized, oh, it's seized up and I need to stretch it and release it. I like to focus and emphasize the exhalations here. It's also okay if you have an even measured breath, but the longer out breaths can help with the release, with the letting go process. Just a few more. All right, we're going to take the block in the left hand. Oof. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Sorry, I have sound effects today. And when you come up to this point, we're going to take the right arm out in front. We're going to cross it over. And then we're going to reach through the right arm and fingertips. Just so you guys know, I saw a neighbor crossing the street. They may be coming to ring the doorbell. If that happens, I may have to back away for just a moment because they'll be able to hear me talk and see me from the front porch. I don't know how this feels for you, but it feels really good to me right now. This isn't even the problem side, so hopefully it feels good to your body. All right, let's release and bring the hands down. And remember, slow motion, because that was a lot. Slide it back to table. Your hands are before your shoulders. Flatten them down, curl the toes, and take Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. One more deep breath in. Fly your sits bones up. And then exhale, let's bring the knees down. All right, we're going to come onto a seat. And I'm going to turn to face you for a moment. The hands are stacked behind us. The knees are bent. And we're going to do that windshield wipe twist here. Back and forth between the two sides. I'm driving the knees lower. You don't have to give that extra drive down. You can just swish them back and forth. But I can tell it's helpful for me. We're going to come back down to our spine and do one more twist. So when you roll down to your back, this time we're going to take the right leg across it over the left. But instead of moving the knees to the left, we're actually going to take them to the right. Okay? So test the water here with the left foot on the floor. And fan the arms out like a T. Now, if you feel like you want a little extra than this, you can roll back to center. You can hover the foot and then roll across. This again helps with that area of the low back where that psoas muscle attaches. I've heard it's also helpful for the QL muscle. And obviously the benefits of a twist. Inhale the knees back to center. And then we'll uncross and recross, left leg over the right. So again, right foot can stay down. The knees can spill over. You can also hover the foot before rotating. By the way, it's a new moon today. For those of you getting the recording later, don't even think about it. But for those of you joining me today, like I know, one of you in particular is a caretaker. And I was talking to my mom yesterday, who's a caretaker for my father. And she was like, I don't know what's wrong with your dad. He got up, he's so tired. He just went right back to bed. He just doesn't have any energy. And I said, well, Mom, it's a new moon. And she just talked over me. She doesn't believe in that stuff, doesn't think about that stuff, but it's true. And it's scientifically shown to be true. And if you're a caretaker, it is important to pay attention to the new moon and the full moon and to see how, your person is responding to that energy. And then you can understand why they're acting abnormal. Okay. All right, gently unroll, uncross, and hug the knees in, please. One more time. Apanasana. All right, and release. Now, this is what I was going to show you for Shavasana. So generally speaking, we like using the bolster under the knees. It gives support for the joints of the knees. It allows the low back to kind of flatten down a little bit. And it can be very nice to relieve low back pain. However, if your muscles are seizing up here, affecting your back, then it's not going to be as helpful. And that's what I experienced last night. I've released it enough now where this is fine and feels comfortable, but because I know it needs to be stretched out, I am not going to use that bolster for Shavasana. So you can determine, what's good for you in this moment. Remember, the yin form of quartz is making kind of that X shape with the body, but that's not good for everyone's shoulders. So feel free to have them in an A-frame or even hands on the body. Whatever you choose. Find your comfort and settle in. And I would take at least 3 deep breaths. That way you can center. Remember your purpose for doing this today. It can aid you to relax. And then once you've taken a few, don't have to be the driver of the breath anymore. It can be more organic. But send your drishti towards your mind's eye for mental focus. And maintain that mental focus by noticing any thoughts that arise, but without attaching to them. You receive, you notice, but you also let it go. And eventually those thoughts will become less and less and less. start to deepen the flow of your breath. Perhaps bending the knees. Maybe creating movement in your hands or stretching the arms overhead. Exhale, hugging the knees in and maybe rocking side to side. Rolling to one, propping yourself back up. Sitting, close out our practice. Bring your hands to prayer position. And we all continue with this light of awareness, not only in our lives, not only externally in our environment, but internally into our mind and body. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.